Innovation. Okay, on behalf of our team, Contract Procurement and Management System, College of Built Environment, Universiti Teknologi Shah Alam, we would like to express our appreciations to ReNeU because to giving us an opportunity to share our research this morning. Okay, it is my pleasure to be here as your moderator. Okay, I'm Saifuza Abd Shukor. Okay, first of all, let's start our webinar by cited Surah Al-Fatihah. Amin, 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 ya Rabbal Alameen. Okay, for your information, this is one hour seminar and we will gonna have our question and answer at last part of session. Okay, for those who have a questions, you can post in the chat box and I will read and address to the speaker. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce our speaker, technologist Dr. Norfashiha Hashim. Okay, Dr. Norfashiha is currently a senior lecturer in the Center of Studies for Quantity Surveying, College of Built Environment, UiTM Shah Alam, Malaysia. Throughout her 15 years of service in UiTM, she has been in various committees such as National Outcome-Based Education Unit and Research Management Units. She's organizing committees in various international conferences and workshops. Okay, in the area of research and innovation, Dr. Norfashiha currently head of Research Interest Group, Contract Procurement and Management System since 2020. The RIG Group has managed to secure 2 consultant projects from Construction Industry Development Board in CIDB Malaysia, amounting 200,000. As a personal capacity, Dr. Fashiha managed to secure 12 grants from international and internal grants amounting 400,000 as a 3 principal investigators and 9 as a co-researcher. She also actively involved in innovation by participating various innovations exhibitions competitions and won several gold, silver and bronze awards. As recently, she and her team in 2021 received silver awards in national invention and innovation competitions for a project titled Critical Beam Capabilities for Malaysian Architectural Practices. Okay, currently, Dr. Fashiha is supervising 3 PhD students, co-supervising 7 PhD students, 3 master by research and has over 15 completed master coursework dissertation students. She has over 25 index publications comprised of Q2 and Q4 journals, peer-reviewed journals, index conference and non-index conference. She is also actively served as a reviewer for various international journals.
Yang mana tak
Editor,
apa PNC tak sign
Index
lagi.
Corpus Journal of Special Issues of Botanical Journals of Social Science and Humanities. Okay, in 2018, she and her team was appointed as a consultant to Construction Industry Development Board, CIDB Malaysia, in the production of construction industry standard, occupational safety and health specification and bills of quantity for construction works, which has been published in 2019. Okay, without further ado, I would like to call upon technologist Dr. Norfashiha Hashim to deliver the presentation entitled Challenges in Measuring the Cost and Benefit of BEAM in Malaysian Construction Industry. Okay, Dr. Norfashiha, the floor is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you for coming for this sharing session. So I'm representing the RIG group CPMS. I'll start with the sharing content first. Share. Boleh nampak kat ni? Right. Okay, this is our group This is on our group. Sekejap. CPMS, Procurement Management and System, and our topic for the topic today is on the sharing session is on the challenges measuring the cost and benefit for beam building project in Malaysian construction industry. And this is basically is our current latest project with the team, a small team with one PhD student under FRGS grant that we recently secure in 2020. So before we proceed with the with the details of the presentation, I would like to introduce my group members that we have formed. The group is starting in 2014 with 6 members, and eventually it expand up to the 10 members, comprises of the lecturers from the College Alam Bina, from UiTM Shah Alam and Kota Samarahan, UiTM Kota Samarahan. And but basically all 10 of us is from the Department of Quantity Surveying. We have basically we have a different background, and our focus mainly on the consultation works, but despite the consultation works, we are also actively involved involved in the research and development, and with the PhD student and others. So some part of us actively as a trainers for the CIDB and also PKK, and the recent one, the team from Kota Samarahan involved in giving a training for the contractors for the green procurement, and one of our members, Professor Dr. Fadil Hassan, involved in the construction management, development of the BIM competency, and some part of us involved in the health and safety, preparing the document standard and others. So this is we have the various background, but mainly the focus is on the construction management. So so let us look into the topic that we have currently. This is the continuous of the research that we currently involved with developing the framework or framework of the cost benefit analysis for the BIM projects in Malaysian construction industry. And the topics today is not on the development of the framework on how to calculate on the CBA, but I'm focusing on the what is the main challenge that we face in measuring the cost and also the benefits. Since BIM is also as part of the IT and it is part of the construction industry, the measurement of the benefits is basically on the perceived side, and we basically trying to measure the benefits on the quantitative manner. So the content of this topic will start with the overview of the what is BIM for those audience who does not familiar with the BIM itself and how it apply in the construction industry, and later we move to the how we move to the needs to measure the real benefits of BIM, and what are the common typical measurement approach in measuring the benefits gained from the project. And we will look through all the previous literature, and based on the preliminary interview also, what has been applied in the industry, what are lacking in the industry, that inspire us, motivate us to do this project, especially to contribute a little bit on towards on the industry application. And the next discussion, we will look into the challenge in measuring the benefits and future of the direction of research, and looking at some preliminary findings and the conclusions of moving forward from this research. So as for the introduction, being basically, we have construction projects always deal with the high-risk business activity, and it facing a constant error and producing the rework delay that lead to the construction industry productivity. And BIM basically is the key, and it is important is the key for this problem. And however, the literatures, even throughout the literatures since late 2020s and 2019, 2016s, we still seen a report that there is a different reaction of the industry where BIM has not been adopted to its full potential, and it's difficult for the stakeholder to reach the decision to start their implementing the BIM. One of it because of the cost of the implementation, and also there is no real benefit has been reported, especially in the context of Malaysia, where it is not the real value has not been measured to the and reported in the industry. So let's look into the definition. So BIM start with the modeling technology and associated with a set of process to produce and communicate, analyze, and the use of the digital information model throughout the construction project cycle. Basically, it's not a software. Part of it is the software, but it involves integration of the process in producing the model, digital information modeling, and throughout the model too, we integrate and throughout the project life cycle with the intention to reduce the rework and to reap all the benefits out of it. And when we look into the history of the Malaysia, BIM adoption, basically in Malaysia or in other countries, it was driven by the policymakers, which is our client. So where the government-related bodies such as JKR and CIDB, in Malaysia particularly, we started to promote the BIM implementation in early as 2007. We started with the looking at the awareness. Later on, it is part of the some of the expert from the BIM in 2007 approaching the JKR, the PWD, set up the BIM committee, and BIM committee was started to evolve throughout the years, and in 2022, BIM has been part of the strategic planning in the National Construction Policy for 2030. So this is the initiative by the PWD or JKR to form and public project. Basically, if we look into the scenario in Malaysia, the public project and public construction client is a very powerful influence towards the overall supply chain due to the large project scale and also portfolios. Right. So if we look into the BIM in Malaysia construction industry, particularly on the adoption rate, it was reported in a report in CIDB 2022, 17% has been involved in adoption of BIM in 2016, but we've seen the increment of the use adoption about 49% in 2019. Therefore, we can see that BIM basically is an investment that it must be proven to be worth of cost invested by improve the perception of the BIM benefit if so that it could be realized compared to the initial cost that have to be spent if the government targeted to have to achieve the BIM level 2 implementation 100% by 2021, while for the building project above 10 million. But basically, there's no current report have we found yet how much that we have achieved by 2021. But one of the main challenges of the BIM, when we talk about the implementation, one of the key reluctant of the we've seen a lot of study on the challenges of BIM, but one of the consistency key challenges is the cost of the BIM. So we have five prominent challenges, which is high cost, initial cost of software, lack of cost of analysis in comparing between BIM and the conventional method, we have a high training cost and lack of cost analysis in comparing BIM and this one, the one that I've said earlier. And all this basically, even in the report to 2020 report by the CIDB officially, the cost and high cost software and also high training is one of the resistance by the industry players on how to in implementing the BIM itself. If we look into the high initial cost of the software, we can see even the cost of software is a bit higher. If I can give an examples, the Autodesk for the one subscription for one user is about 8,600. So for the company, or especially for the small company, to invest 8,600 for one user, and the renewal fee would be 10% less from the original license fee, it will be considered a huge amount of investment for this. So, and also the high training cost, starting with if CIDB has started giving a training in a way, in one of the effort to improve the awareness and also the implementation. The cost would be as low as 100 ringgit, 400 ringgit, and up to 5,000 ringgit if you wanted to get the license as a BIM modeler and certificate for the BIM modeler, BIM manager, and whatsoever. So with the nature of the construction industry, the high turnover rate for the among of the companies, investment in this training costs and investment with the cost of software and hardware without blindly, without assessing the real benefit that will gain, is basically we can consider is like you don't invest study feasibility or assessment, a proper assessment, and it will be something that consider a very less assessment, tindakan yang tidak, I would say, tidak bijak. So majority of the of the company which in the construction industry mainly from the SMEs, small medium company, so they quite reluctant because of this. Due to this, with the high initial cost, there is lack of cost analysis compared to BIM-based and the conventional project, and also high training costs. Company is quite reluctant, and we motivate this is a motivate us to do the research to identify what would be the real benefits, the real value of BIM that they can capture once they invest in the initial in cost of software, hardware, and technology, and also training costs. There are cases where the firm has invested in high cost of the software and also hardware, and in the preliminary of the project, they are very motivated to do the project using the BIM integration with the software, Revit, and whatsoever, and suddenly in a halfway they don't have enough people or an expertise to do to continue the project, since the person that they give training suddenly quit the job, and the project tu akan kembali kepada conventional method. So we try to avoid this kind of situation so that the value that the company gain from the software tu berbaloi lah, worth for the investment. So if we look into the benefits, we have a lot of studies on the benefit gain. There is a substantial studies on the benefit of BIM. Looking at this, and the list will go on and go on, and if you look into the studies of the benefit, we have abundance, especially in Malaysia. Although the implementer or the construction players are aware with the benefits of BIM, however, there is no, I can say, a limited studies on looking at the real value of BIM, meaning that, let's say, if it is a few errors, how many fewer errors that they gain from the investment of BIM or investment using the 3D modeling. So if it is a competitive advantage gain, so how much they gain, improve coordination, how many percentage of the coordination, improve the documentation, quality of the process, improve efficiency, how efficient is efficient. If it is a lower cost, how low is low, improve productivity, how improve is improve. So there is a numbers that should be the value, it should be come out from this investment so that it does not stop as a perceived benefits only. And previous study, if you look through it, I believe some of you are involved with the BIM, you will notice majority of the studies will based on the perceptions. Even they claim that if it is they claim is a real value, but the real value sometimes in order to increase the validity of the findings, the researcher interview the person or responder who heavily involved in a project BIM. However, the methodology that they choose, for example, how many errors that you found, the less errors your experience in implementing the BIM. We said that you can get, do you agree that it produce a fewer error? Yes. By how many percent? It does not calculate it based on the perception. And these benefits and the list will go on and go on with a different stage. The benefits gained out of the project itself is tremendous and a lot. And it comes with a different benefit with a different stage and also different maturity level. And the BIM itself, it claim we have a lot of benefit. However, in a study of the measurement of the benefits, back to this, basically benefits of BIM, if you look into this, it generally it can be divided into two. Tangible and intangible benefits. So when it comes to intangible benefits, so it is hard for the researcher to evaluate what is the real value of the benefit itself. So if you look into the measurements of the benefit, the objective evaluations of the method will include the CBA, value analysis, multiple criteria and others. And basically the subjective method, measurements of benefits, it could be evaluated in many types. These are the economic evaluation, the samples which consist of CBA, ROI, cost effectiveness, real option analysis, and information economics. However, there are another set of measurement of benefits, what we call as the subjective method, which include the user attitude survey, user utility function, and we have the Delphi evidence, and many evaluation approach has been proposed and targeted objectively and subject. It applies. It depends on the project that you apply. And for this discussion, we are focusing on the benefits on economic benefits, which particularly on challenges of the measurement of the benefits like CBA, ROI, economic benefits, COI, CEA, ROA, and others. So, since implementation of BIM usually require many resources and expenses, in today resource constrained environment, economic evaluation is necessary for any stakeholder. For as I mentioned earlier, to ensure that those those money that used for the investment is worth. So you can reap the benefits as maximum as you can. It does not based on the perceived value, as I mentioned earlier. So the evaluation of the performance measurement it can be served as a formative and summative evaluation, and methods basically divided into two, which if you look into the slides, you can see the formative evaluation, which on the needs assessment, evaluability assessment, structured conceptualization, implementation evaluation, and process evaluation, whereby the summative evaluation looking at the outcome evaluation, which is output that you gain out of from the systems, from the IT, regardless of the systems. And we have the economic valuation. This is the attempt that not only happen for the BIM, but is from the IT systems also. And impact evaluation, secondary and meta analysis. If you look into the economic valuation, which this is our focus, cost benefit economic evaluation comprises with the cost effectiveness analysis, cost benefit analysis, cost utility analysis, and cost analysis. But the common one that has been it has been searched or has been studied in the literature is on the ROI, because ROI refer on cost. However, for the intangible benefits, we have to look into it's not only looking at the cost, but it should be looking at the benefits also. So therefore, on the CBA, we have a various types of quantitative measures such as net profit, NPV, ROI, payback period, and IRR, internal rate of return. But the basic the outcome of this evaluation is basically on the evaluation, the cost, the worth of cost, and also the worth of benefits that you gain. And if you we try to review on the existing tool on the BIM investment impact, and there are a substantial numbers of study that discover the BIM impact in terms of the benefit cost with the through the different methods and results. If you see there are different level, different stakeholder affected, with the different method of evaluation, and also the type of study and method of study analysis. And majority you will see based on using the method of survey, method of interview, and literature review, and the stakeholder also different. If you've seen the stakeholder affected, why the researcher focusing in one stakeholder, this is due to the objective or the aim of the investment of BIM might differ from the different stakeholder, and the benefits gained from the different stakeholders also are different, from the designers, client, and also from the even for the public client also is different. So therefore, it is quite challenge for us to calculate the benefit gain for all stakeholders. So this is later we will discuss on the challenge of developing the cost and benefits of the real value through for the BIM projects. So if you look into the methods of evaluation, the ROI is the main option for the respondent, looking at the ROI and the CBA, and also value realization framework, investment benefit framework, the CBA, and the benefit measurement, the cost measurement, and also NPV, economic, and cost measurement, cost saving framework, looking at the class detection, which is one rig benefits only. And all this is quite hard for in study for majority in the country, because looking at the ROI itself, it's insufficient because of there is no they are not considered the intangible measures, intangible benefits, and also the data availability. The culture of construction industry itself on the data sharing is quite limited. So therefore, using the ROI also is considered is quite issue of data confidentiality is one of the key obstacles in performing the CBE. So what are the challenge in measuring the BIM benefits? We have motivated to do this kind of measures. We know that one of the main reason why the adoption rate of BIM implementation is a bit slow because of there is no real benefits or real value has been discussed throughout the years. We cannot produce the right values, and even the case study done by the company has not been advertised to the public. In order to encourage more companies, more organization to join or to implement the BIM. So let's look into the challenges in measuring the benefits. Basically, we divided into 3 types of benefits on defining the real benefits and costs of BIM instead of perceived value. This is what I said as mentioned earlier. We have substantial numbers of studies on the benefits, but basically it's on the perceived value. And number 2, to quantify and monetize the benefits and costs, and to find a reliable method to measure the benefits and costs. Let's look into the first on the defining the real values of BIM in the form of benefits. And previous studies have presented on the topics, many topics related on the potential and the perceived BIM benefits for the exploratory purposes. We perceive how they perceive with BIM benefits. And it indicates there is still lacking the hard evidence regarding its benefit of its implementation, and these benefits claim have to be proven against the cost of the implementation adopters are going to spend on validates its investment through an evaluation method. And this potential cost saving is quite difficult to measure and common approach because of the difficulties of measuring. A lot of researchers opt for the subjective benefit evaluation, which produce alternative and convince the BIM benefit values, meaning that some of the researchers are trying to establish the BIM benefits through the interviews of the person or respondent who involved in the research, involved in the BIM project, but they are not counting the real values, measures the real values, meaning that if there is a clash analysis or reduce the clash, how much is the clash can be reduced through BIM is not measured thoroughly. This is based on the interviews only. All right. So there are several factors also in defining the values of BIM in the forms of benefits and costs. We have several factors were reported to have influence on the BIM implementation values. If based on the previous study, the benefits that they list out in a form of static. So in that BIM benefits basically will influence and the values of BIM for the benefit and cost basically were influenced by the users, which BIM users that you wanted to use, which BIM maturity level that you want, currently the company maturity level that we at the moment, what is the maturity level, which BIM users or the stakeholders that you want involved in the project, which different stakeholder will bring a different values. So different maturity levels also will bring different benefits and also different costs, which BIM users also influenced by the types of software, types of the complexity of the project itself. So the less complex of the integration of the BIM project, the benefits will be less. So the measuring of the benefits is not direct. It comes with a lot of factors that you have to consider when you wanted to measure the benefits and also the cost. Therefore, the company will have to, it's not about awareness, but you have to look into the work stream, you have to look into the process of BIM and also the users of BIM, particularly in order for you to identify what would be the real benefits of BIM. The second challenges is on the obstacles in quantifying and monetizing the benefits and costs. Since the high capital investment is needed for the BIM adoption, the industry players were concerned about the identification and measurement of its benefits and costs as a form of legitimate evidence of the investment. To sustain and increase the BIM adoption rate, the quantitative analysis and financial information regarding the BIM benefits and costs are needed as one of the key motivators. So these are the obstacles in quantifying and monetizing the BIMs and benefits and costs. One of the main obstacles reported is the lack of data or information needed for the quantitative assessment. And also because of the data basically are not readily available, and confidentiality issues, particularly data involve cost. So the client basically reluctant to share the data on a lot of data related to BIM, and we are also facing the same thing on the confidentiality of the data and also unavailability of the data. So this is one of the key challenges of us in developing the framework, the calculation of the BIM cost and benefit analysis. And current quantification and also the cost that involved is on the intangible benefits and costs. Some of it some of the benefits are hardly to measure. For example, improve productivity. How to measure the productivity and improve the environmental performance? How are we going to measure the environmental performance? Some benefits you cannot see the benefits upon completion of the project. It might appear after 2 or 3 years in the long run after the project is completed. So this is one of the key issues in identifying the right benefits of the BIM itself, and we have the indirect benefits and also the indirect costs that involve that influence the benefits, and qualitative benefits and costs also is hard to measure because it when you if you've seen the previous slide, the list of benefits, and it requires when we wanted to measure, it requires a different sets of data, and it should be collected in a different situation. So in order to measure the benefits, we have to be cautious and thoroughly look into the situation, what types of benefits that we wanted to reap at that particular time. Alright, third one is on, and the last one is finding a reliable method to measure the BIM and the cost, the BIM and BIM benefits and the cost. Current approach, looking at the current approach, majority of the study is evaluation of the measurement is for the learning purposes. Learning purposes meaning that we studied what we have, we compare the completed projects, the benefit that they gain from the project in terms of monetary value, and usually with the approach of the case study and the survey interview. But recently, the approach of ex-post, this is what we call as an ex-post measurement. And recently, we are moving forward looking at the ex-ante approach, which mainly for the prediction purposes prior with the decision making, looking at the cross-case analysis, system dynamic theory, machine learning tool, and ANN. So this is the new approach that makes more difficult to measure the benefits, since we are going to predict the benefit, that outcome from the project. And there is a lot of interest looking at the ex ante approach, because because the new companies, or the companies who wanted to embark with the projects, or with the BIM project, they can predict what kind of the benefits that will reap, how many percentage that will gain out of profit, as compared to expose. There is some limitation out of it. For example, the complexity of the project are very much influenced with the cost of the cost of the BIM, so you cannot use the data as a basis for to predict the future project they will gain. Therefore, although the expose is good enough for you as a benchmark or basis to for the decision making for you to embark for BIM project, but ex ante ex ante approach very much convinced in terms of the prediction purposes. So, in a finding of the reliable method to measure BIM benefits, so there is a lack of BIM benefit evaluation method for the public agencies to understand and apply investment. For the private companies, private agency or private companies, normally they are looking at the profit basis. So, ROI or business are very much influenced looking at how much ROI that they will gain. But for the public agencies, it's not only for the ROI. Well, we cannot measure the ROI because this is more a public agency, basically more on a measuring the social obligation, and most of it is on the intangible benefits. Therefore, the investment, the previous literature report using the case study method to investigate the BIM more suitable than a survey or interview, because it prone to subjective and perception, perceptive estimation. Macam saya sebut tadi lah, berapa yang kalau soalan itu di dalam pandangan Tuan, macam in your opinion, how much reduction of free work that you gain from the BIM project. Maybe they can say about 20%, 30%. And the third one, project initiation, that needs the prediction method, ex ante evaluation method, and cross-case synthesis instead of exposed to avoid overall bias. Biasness, the issues biasness ni kita tengok in the context of the types of project and also the complexity of the project. And the BIM investment impact is not only for the learning purposes, but it should be evaluated for the decision making purposes. Therefore, the prediction is the new approach ataupun the right approach to help the company, to assist the company for the decision making. So what would be the next direction of the research? The next direction, this is what we develop over throughout the years in developing the CBA cost benefit analysis that we use, the net present value and economic present value. Like I mentioned earlier, there are a lot of factors, cost factors involved in implementing the BIM project, such as the software related, hardware related, training related, increasing the labor expenses, consultation, infra cost, adaptation and development cost, particularly for the BIM itself, and the project level extra charges incurred the client. And these factors basically influence the benefit factors, which is these are among of the factors, fewer errors, higher customer satisfaction, and all these factors, about 21 factors, should be measured differently, and all the cost factors are influenced different on the benefit factors. However, the benefit that they gain, for example, better change management, better data information capturing, are very much influenced with the time dimension, the stakeholder dimension, which is who are the parties that which contractor will gain a different data information benefits, and client will gain a different benefits of data or change management, and also the types of project that influence the benefit factors. And in the conclusion, globally, BIM has been successfully adopted in the construction industry, but facing many challenges, including the benefit evaluation, and hence there are more studies need to provide more useful tools in industry to for the industry practitioner to evaluate more BIM benefit in a practical ways. I think that's all for me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Fashiha. It would be a very informative and interesting sharing session. Okay, now I open to the Q&A session. All right, any questions from the floor? You can type the questions in the chat box. You can unmute and directly raise the questions to the speaker. Okay, we are waiting the questions.
Assalamualaikum, can you hear me?
Salam, Dr. Fadil.
Tak ada muka pun boleh kenal. Okay. Right, quite interesting topic. Okay. I almost had a good discussion almost every night because my my son is using BIM. He's working in architect firm, so he's working on BIM. So I got a lot of feedback, and therefore I got a lot of questions to ask you. Okay, right. So sorry about that. Sorry about that introduction. Right. Anyway, this is based on my discussions and based on my NILA. So you were talking about cost and benefit, right? If I look at cost, just like you mentioned about, basically is the capex, capital expenditure, and then you have the OPEX, operation expenditure, and all that. And then you look into the benefit. Okay. So we tackle one question first. On the cost, later on we go to the benefit. Say for example, you talk about cost. Right. So most of the points that you raise, it could be, what you term as, you can translate it into cost, or you can monetize it. Say for example, the hardware, the software, that kind of thing, right? But and also what do you call it, the training itself, but sometimes what is quite difficult to translate in capex to the staff training hours, because as you know, when you have a firm, they are already working, they are working at their office, on projects and things like that, and they're using the different platform, maybe CAD or whatnot, and then you want to have their training hours for this adopting BIM, for example, Revit or whatever. They need to spare some time. What happened in for example, in my son's firm, they had to sacrifice their time, weekends, for example, that kind of thing, where they should be with their family and things like that. So this cannot be actually translated into money, I mean. Okay, because it's more of a qualitative sort of thing, right? And the same thing with the instructor. Sometimes the instructor has to come in as well, and it so happens that my son, because he had a proper training, he had this the training, 6 months training in UMP, for example, this is on BIM. So he indirectly he became one of the in-house instructors. So what I'm trying to say here, over here, and then when we talk about capex, sometimes, you can translate many things into cost. But what do you think about what I just said about the staff training, about the time they spend, time they lose, in fact, if they work during if they train during the working hours, for example, the staff need to continuous, not just training, but we are talking about continuous training. Okay, that's my first question.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Fadil. This is what we have discussed throughout the discussion with the PhD and also sebab projek ni actually kita buat dengan MOU dengan JKR. So bila kita come out with the benefits tu, one of the key issues adalah tadi itulah macam doktor kata tadi, the training hours for bukan sahaja training cost tapi training yang allocated, time allocated for the training tu. So bila kita nak come out with kita nak calculate benda-benda tu, and every benefits that they will gain, semuanya akan datang, dia punya benefits tu akan dia jadi macam ada yang direct benefits, ada yang indirect benefits. Meaning that kalau katalah kita nak buat clashes analysis punya benefit. So clashes analysis benefit tu bukan sahaja kita punya factors influencing on the training tu, tapi itulah time tu semua. So bila kita recently kita jumpa one of the key person in JKR, sebab benda-benda ni pun juga bergantung pada BIM users, tahap mana penggunaan yang kita nak. So dia kata okay, kita terpaksa limitkan macam doktor kata tadi, kalau untuk individu company private company dia lebih pada ROI capex tadilah. Tapi kalau kita tengok on JKR, dia lebih pada dia nak tengok berapa yang dia dapat macam capex, bukan capex, macam clashes analysis, berapa yang dia kurang by percentage. Tapi
Sorry, before I just want to set. Actually, I'm just talking about cost. Saya boleh cerita pasal benefit lagi. Talking about cost. How are you to establish? This is just to establish, belum benefit lagi. I have a question on benefit. Belum sampai situ lagi. I'm asking you, how do you establish? As I said, the training cost, the hours. How do you establish that? Because that is also part of capex, if I believe lah. You can then so how do you monetize that? How do you put that into figures? Ada ataupun you are still looking, just
kita bukan still looking lagi, doktor. Kita belum sampai tahap develop lagi. So kita belum lagi tengok developing lagi benda tu. Sebab lepas ni baru kita nak step untuk developing, sebab kita dah identify semua cost tadi, which I agree yang doktor kata tadi tu. Selepas tu baru kita nak tengok dia punya macam mana kita nak kira lah benda tu. Sebab belum lagi sampai tu step.
Tak apa, right. Okay, fine. Okay, we end the question there. Okay, next will be we move to OPEX lah. Because once you've done, you start running benda tu, you put that into training. Then it will be a continuous training kan, betul lah. It's a continuous training and updating of the software and this and that kan. Itu pun takes time. So there's also something that as I said lah, it could be monetized as well, because nothing is free nowadays kan. So benda tu ada cost. So I just want to share with you, these are the things sometimes certain firms they are quite reluctant to accept, because especially when they are busy kan. Dia nak kena buat continuous training, dia kena buat updating, tukar sistem, orang kelang kabut and all sorts of things. So this will hinder users especially who have a running project dan sebagainya to have problems lah with BIM. Okay, that is one. Right. Let's go to benefit. Okay, you claim tadi banyak benefit. Okay, if I look at it, some of it are qualitative, some of it are quantitative. Most of it are quantitative. Where you talk about quantitative ni, it is much easier for you to translate it into cost, or to monetize it. Tapi when it comes to qualitative ni, contohnya pasal the day-to-day use of the apa ni?
Productivity tu.
Yeah, the BIM tu sendiri lah. This is what I get feedback from my son. For example, delay due to qualitative issues lah, mistake lah, slow lah, misunderstanding among the players. You faham tak? You are very motivated and you are really really want to use the thing, practice it, put it into practice. Suddenly because BIM is not a standalone method, as you know kan. BIM
Yeah.
is standalone. You tak, architect tak boleh buat seorang-seorang, engineer tak boleh buat seorang-seorang, and so on and so forth lah. So coordination among consultant team is and the contractor must be in place dulu in order to make it a successful BIM tu is a successful approach. So how do you deal with this? How do you deal with all this? I mean, that's why I believe it's not just about quantitative. There's a lot of things that you have to look into qualitative as well. Because you mentioned just now that you said that how they make decision making. Say for example, firms they want to use whatever findings to make to ease their decision making, whether they use or not BIM. So these are the things that has to be put into perspective as well, rather than just quantitative matters, but also qualitative. Okay, what say you on this?
Agree, Doktor. Agree. Very much agree. Sebabnya bila kita sembang-sembang tu macam doktor punya experience dengan anak doktor lah. One of the key dia bukannya bukan company tu je, tapi dia banyak company lain. Let's say company A is already macam ready to embark with the BIM, dah ada training apa benda semua, suddenly dia punya supply chain tak ready. Jadi macam susah lah nak coordination apa benda semua and collaboration. That is one of the issue. And kita juga ada consider benda ni qualitative measure untuk benefit yang macam ni, coordination apa semua. Cuma one of the dia jadi bukan masalah, dia punya challenge tu macam mana nak ukur, contoh coordination tadi, macam mana nak ukur katalah perception company A, dia kata coordination, sebab yang ini dia dah jadi macam perceive tau doktor. Bila perceive benefits tu, dia based on the experience dia, coordination ni baik, coordination tu. So bila kita nak buat, sebab the next project, the moving forward of this project is to developing the ANN, using the ANN on the prediction method. So ini pun kita dah cuba fikirkan sama ada macam mana nak mengukur, sama ada kita nak pakai perceive ataupun apakah ukuran yang boleh digunakan untuk untuk tengok collaboration and coordination ni. And
Perceive tu okay. There's nothing wrong to measure perceive. But normally, if you want to measure perceive in terms of qualitative, sometimes you can translate it into value. You can put it into value, into value, say in the form of Likert scale, in the form of in form of ranking, in form of so you can actually change qualitative into quantitative in that sense. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, you will find out, how many percent would prefer this to be this way.
But we have to carefully craft it lah, doctor.
Of course.
We have to carefully craft it with the factors.
I've been doing that. I think Dr. Saifuza will know so much about that. I've been doing that. How you turn that qualitative into quantitative.
Yes.
There are ways of doing it. I'm not saying this because I know much about it. But this is some of the avenues that you should explore lah.
Yes, I agree.
So that at the end of the day, your whatever you measure, things that you measure can be put into better position.
Yeah.
Decision makers will okay, this one 70% seem to be happy with this, or 20% does not happy with this, that kind of thing. Although it's qualitative in the upfront it looks qualitative, but you can translate it or you can sort of change it, put value to it to make it become quantitative. Okay, that's one. Right. The last question about that I think how you should move forward is as well. I think not just about quantitative. Again, you should also look at practitioners, sponsors. This is a key for anybody who would. I think JKR is a bit biased if you talk about you just focus on JKR. okay, because they are backed by government, they're backed. If government say, okay, you use BIM, everybody has got to follow, kan? So there's no two ways about it, So I think it's unfair for other practitioners to if you use JKR as your point of reference alone, but you need to also look into the aspects of how architects, how engineers, how they have perceived this especially the benefits. And I think it's not so much on the capex sebenarnya. Actually, they're looking more on the benefits, because that's where sometimes they're losing on that. To claim something else, and yet they feel that it doesn't meet up to their expectation, or it seems that we spend so much on this, suddenly like this, they get so frustrated and then demotivated, and the staff themselves just okay, we just follow whatever it is. There's no real what do you call it, motivation or what do you call it,
Real evidence, Doctor. It's a real evidence.
to actually, okay, so if you put it into if you this qualitative thing, if you can put it into value, as I mentioned, it becomes more sensible in a way. It's not just say, okay, this is good, this is bad, but there are values. There are values. People can say, okay, 70% like this, 70 not they do like this, and so on. So as that is my last question now. Do you think that you should look into this aspect as well, on looking at the benefit? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Fadil. We should. I agree. We should. And yet, as I mentioned earlier, different stakeholders sebenarnya do not require different benefits. And I agree juga dengan Doktor. For the JKR have different perceptions, different point of view of getting what benefits they want to acquire. As for the architects and all the private agency, they have a different perceptions of what kind of benefits they wanted to acquire. So the way saya tengok, we have a lot of opportunity to explore on this kind of cost measurement punya measurement of the benefits ni, whether it is quanti or quali. Saya rasa moving forward benda ni kita boleh join together untuk tengok lah benda ni together, whether dalam point of qualitative or quantitative, but we start with the JKR dulu, Doktor, untuk prove the evidence that the reduction of the clash semua tu dulu, then only kita boleh tengok balik yang kita tengok benefits yang lain. Ini macam apa yang saya vision dalam jangka masa sepanjang research ni lah, Doktor. But thank you for the suggestion. I will look into it in completing this research. Saya akan consider lah semua faktor-faktor tu tadi.
Okay, welcome. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Associate Professor Dr. Fadil Muhammad. A very good discussions, stations and opinions. Okay, is there any questions from the floors? Okay, it's about 11 o'clock. If there are no more questions, okay, as a reminder, don't forget to fill in the feedback forms in the chat box and the attendance form. All right, finally we come to the final session. Okay, Dr. Fashiha.
Boleh tangkap gambar.
Okay, all right. Could everyone give a cooperation to turn on your camera for photo session? Okay, siapa yang ni? Boleh tolong.